Hello, my name's Simon Lawrence and I'm the Chief Executive of Uncommon Knowledge. And today I'm going to talk to you about big data. Why am I qualified to talk about big data first of all? Well, because I've been in the marketing industry and the data industry for the last 20 years or so, and in that time founded a business called Information Arts, which I sold in 2010. And during the time with Information Arts, I provided services, strategy and thought leadership to some big brands who operate globally. I also been right at the heart of industry developments. I founded the B2B Awards. I founded the first B2B conference. I've sat on various councils for the Institute of Direct Marketing and also on the provided content for the B2B diploma. So what I've observed during that time with Information Arts and my time in the industry is that marketing loves technology and seen many changes. So first of all, when I started the business, the first thing that happened was something called Siebel, and Siebel became a panacea for CRM. For many years people believed that CRM was Siebel, CRM in a box. 5 years later, email happened, and suddenly the industry got very excited about email and everything became about email, and people would talk about the death of direct mail. And then 5 years later, marketing automation came along and everybody rushed around looking at marketing automation solutions. And really since that time there's been an exponential growth of technology platforms for digital and social and CRM engagement, thousands of them. And the point about them all is that they all are systems that gather and do things with data. So somebody came along and thought, you know what, we're collecting a lot of data here, let's analyse it all if we can, and suddenly you've got the embryonic stages of big data. I think the clever thing is that the big consultants have got hold of it and created this whole new area of marketing or enterprise data analysis, and frankly made a huge amount of money out of it. So selling loads of technology, lots of cloud storage and lots of consultancy services around it, and also created what apparently is the sexiest job in the world right now, which is called the data scientist. So that's really the background of it. But actually, what is big data? So in my opinion, simply put, big data is about the processes, the people and the technology required to get some commercial advantage from analysis of very large volumes of often unrelated data quickly. Okay, so essentially gathering all the data in an organisation and analysing it for some commercial advantage. People talk about the V's of big data, and what they mean by that is first of all volume. They also mean the velocity of data, so it's kind of fast moving data, things like transactions, things like pricing, things like data that comes down from sensors, telemetry kind of data. So the data's V for varied as well. It's probably sitting in various silos around the organisation, so there's not an immediate or obvious way of linking it. And I'm talking about things like social media, digital data, billing data, inventory, all sorts of types of things, even down to audio and video. And it's also data where the veracity or the truth of it is in question sometimes. So it's often where the data is incomplete, where there's some connections which might need to be inferred because of the sort of disparate nature of the data. So that's a kind of basic definition, and some examples of big data applications might be in the following categories. I think there are things like the so whats of big data, and that's where I've heard people developing big data algorithms where a user can plug in some ingredients that they might have in their cupboard, and actually your big data application will produce a recipe for you. Hooray! That to me is a recipe book. That's a sort of so what of big data, and that actually is an application that IBM were talking about some time recently. IBM have also been very vociferous and active in advertising big data applications around big sporting events. So around Wimbledon last year they were providing real-time feedback on the volumes of strawberries and cream being consumed on the centre court at Wimbledon. That to me is a so what. Then there's the dumb Big Brother kind of applications of big data which are quite prominent in the media, and there's things like a travel site called Orbitz priced rooms for Mac users booking online at 30% more than PC users, because they'd figured through their big data applications that Mac users were less price sensitive, and of course that creates outrage. Facebook Beacon published the fact that a user had bought an engagement ring on Facebook, and prompting lots of congratulatory calls and emails and posts to him before he'd actually popped the question to his girlfriend. That provoked some embarrassment. And then there was the case of a US retailer that identified through analysis of purchase transactions that they could identify pregnant women by the things they were buying. They were deploying mail shots and email shots to the pregnant women, and of course in some cases that caused extreme embarrassment. They may have had good reasons for not telling partners. So there's the sort of dumb Big Brother ones in that category where perhaps some sense or some sanity needs to be applied to the outcomes and the findings. So then the third group is probably around potentially useful, and those are things probably like healthcare, maybe fraud identification, certainly security. You've all seen spooks, they use big data kind of applications, and then some commercial applications as well. So Walmart, for instance, big retailers are telling people that they save billions by analysing the way that people search through their websites to complete online transactions. They've improved the purchase ratios by apparently 15%. A Gulfstream aircraft send data down from many sensors on each of their aircraft in the air so that engineers can be ready on the ground when parts fail, or monitor parts for failure rates across the various fleets. That's about safety and efficiency. It's not really marketing. And then there's another retailer, Macy's, who are talking about real-time pricing. They adjust their pricing in near real time based on demand and inventory. So quite clever. But so, in my opinion, for marketing purposes, the jury's really kind of still out about big data. The common kind of complaint that are directed about big data are that the solutions lack the ability to make judgments. Okay, and you've seen some of that in those kind of so what or the dumb Big Brother kind of applications of big data. The expenditure is massive on a full-size big data app installation, and I guess it's quite hard to pin these kind of costs down. But some research I saw from a company called Wintercorp estimated the cost at between $200 and $500 million. So not trivial at all. And then, as I said, the outcomes are sometimes questionable. And the problem with that is that if you're getting a series of questionable outcomes, it discredits potentially the whole of the role of insight within an organisation. So, and I think fundamentally from me, and my interest as a sort of data person, is all these things really still need data to be reasonably accurate and complete in order to make the findings kind of robust. So, and that really doesn't stack up with the kind of findings that we are seeing in CMOs who are reporting that they feel that their data isn't really ready or in a fit state to do the most basic things with. So, all in all, for me right now, it's quite hard to see that the juice is worth the squeeze. So let's have a reality check here. Again, we're talking about marketing, and in my view, big data right now seems to be a kind of solution looking for a problem, really. And some research I read recently from Google and the CEB Marketing Leadership Council basically, and I quote, says this: some organisations have undergone large-scale, multi-year data management initiatives to improve integration, only to find that the diversity, incompleteness and rate of change in marketing data sources greatly diminished many of the intended benefits. Okay, so that means for me that what we need to be focused on is a quite big data solution. Not a big data, but a quite big data. So what does that mean for marketing? It's something that the marketing industry has been doing really for the last 10 years anyway. So in terms of the basics of that, it is, number one, set some clear objectives for what you want your analysis to drive. Two, and maybe the most important, invest in sorting data out first. You need a single customer view. That's got to be the most basic picture. Move to eliminate silos where you can in terms of data and your organisation and function. In other words, get aligned across the organisation and all behind the insight. Work on better ways of communicating insight across the different functions within businesses, and stop trying to do everything. Focus on what you can do and what you can measure within a reasonable timescale and with a reasonable budget. So finally, really, experience has taught me in the last 20 years or so that things change really quickly. What's flavour of the month now might not be flavour of the month in a year's time. So I remember particularly in the CRM area of Siebel, there became something called the 3-3-60 rule, and that basically meant £3 million, 3 years, 60% failure rate. And I sort of suspect something similar will happen with big data. My view is big data is probably only of interest to a very small number of very, very large organisations who feel that they can get clear benefit out of it, but they need to have a really clear picture of what that benefit is before they start investing the many, many millions of dollars required in order to benefit from that. So to me, the jury's out on a sensible business case. It's going to be superseded, and we need to be focusing on what we can do now. Okay, thank you for tuning in.